and welcome back to the channel. I am joined today by Jamie and by Callum. How are we doing today?
Good, bro. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, thank you. And there's been lots of news recently about PFL acquiring Bellator, and within that was it's sort of being confirmed that Jake Paul will be making his MMA debut for the PFL in the last quarter of 2024, as Jake Paul wants a full 12 months to train MMA after his upcoming boxing fight in December. Obviously, Jake Paul signed with the PFL earlier this year. I'll start with you, Jamie. When you heard Jake Paul was signing with the PFL, what was your initial reaction to it?
I don't know, actually. I suppose get your money. He's got the bottle. I mean, it's a big star in the world of whatever we're in right now, I suppose. Don't love him, I hate him. Jake Paul is an attraction at the end of the day, isn't he? And he does make money. So it's good for him. If he's going to do MMA, man, I'll give him credit. You know, there's not a lot of people that are trying to do MMA, boxing and all this, even whatever level it's at. But fighting in MMA, when you're not trained in that sport against any MMA fighter has got 1-0 record, I'll still give my hats up to him. So yeah, it's got the bottle to do it. Now let's see the opponents he gets. That's the big thing.
Yeah. So as I can with Jake Paul going to make his PFL debut at the back end of 2024. His opponent, it's not going to be a bum, is it? It's not going to be a fighter that we have never heard of before. He's going to have to fight against what we'd say is a recognizable name for him to draw that pay-per-view money that he's going to split 50% with the other fighters. So when you heard that he was making his MMA debut, did you think, it's just another thing that he'll say that he'll do, but he'll never do? Or did you think that he was actually going to have an MMA fight?
I'll be honest with you. I've grown a lot of respect for Jake Paul. A lot. And I've got to put things into context, because a lot of things that people say is, well, he's beaten these MMA fighters in boxing, and they're absolutely right. But if you look at boxers, let's take Floyd, who's considered one of the greatest of all time. I don't think there's anyone who can name us the first 10 fighters that he fought. I could, because I've watched all of his fights. But the casual fan or someone who only casually watches Floyd wouldn't be able to tell you their first 10 wins. Crawford, first 10 wins. Spence, first 10 wins. Mike Tyson, first 10 wins. He's got in there and he's fought. And again, granted, not boxers, but let's not act like Nate Diaz is some scrub who can't take a punch or throw a punch. Let's not act like Anderson Silva didn't beat Chavez Jr. So I think Jake's gone about his career very smart. Now, granted, he's doing this boxing match against someone who isn't well known. That, for me, opens a door for him to have a PFL or an MMA match against someone who might not be as recognizable, well known, because I think him by himself can carry a pay-per-view because he is that big of a star. When he first came out and said he was doing MMA and he signed with the PFL, I thought it was a bit of I won't say a hoax, but some sort of a trick where they're using his brand and he's using their brand. But again, he's set out to do something and he's trying to achieve it. I can't hate on someone who's doing that. I may not like how he goes about it. I may not like some of the things he said and done. But ultimately, I have to respect the fact that he said, I'm going to go and box, and he's done it. He said he wants to do a fighters union. He's in the process of trying to do it. He said he's going to fight in MMA. He's in the process of doing it. He said he wants to try and get a boxing world championship. Again, I don't think it will happen, but he's in the process of trying to do it. Like, realistically, who are we to say like he shouldn't be doing these things? I have to rate what he's doing. Again, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm his biggest fan. I'm not. But I have to sit here and rate and respect what he's doing. So I do think he fights in PFL, and but I don't think his first opponent is a big name, because I think that's too risky. I think you want to, I hate to say this, but you want to feed him someone that is beatable. And I think that's what they do, because if he goes out there and gets smacked about in his first fight, that's not good for the PFL.
Yeah, because I think they've invested a lot of money into him, and they're going to invest a lot of money in the super fight division. Look who's already signed to that division. Amanda Serrano has already jumped across. Derek Brunson's made the jump from the UFC to the PFL to fight at light heavyweight. Kayla Harrison, she's going to be fighting in the super fight division. So this is definitely he's opened the door for fighters who don't want to fight in the PFL league system to sort of hop in the super fight division, get their well-earned money, which they are more than entitled to get the bag, especially because the fighters have such a short career. I'm all for the fighters making as much money as they possibly can, and doing it off the back of Jake Paul's name, because that's potentially what this division's going to be based on, especially for the first super fight division card. I think he will headline, him or Francis will headline. So let's talk about opponents, because I slightly disagree, Callum. I think it is going to be a big name, because you're going to need a big name. And I do think we're going to be looking back and who's fought in boxing. And I think there's a couple of opponents that he has previously fought in boxing that he could fight in MMA that would draw, and that he may think, yeah, I can definitely beat them. Let's start with the one that is gaining the most noise at the moment, and that is the Nate Diaz. Obviously, when Jake Paul initially signed with the PFL, he did the thing saying, Nate, one fight in boxing, one fight in MMA. I think, Jamie, you said before we came on, PFL have offered him 50 million to fight. I'll start off with you, Jamie. Do you think a Nate Diaz fight is would be too much of a risk for Jake Paul to take in his debut?
I think Jake Paul could beat Nate Diaz in MMA.
Jamie, straight out of the gap.
Got to remember, the Logan brothers both got amateur wrestling careers. Jake Diaz, Jake's got that. He has got that punch on him. He's got that boxing background now, where he's got good stand up. His stand up he's better than Nate's. It's just leg kicks, really, and submissions. If he can stop any kind of takedown, and keep it on the feet, learns how to check kicks with his wrestling background and his stand up ability, I still think he's got every ability to beat Nate Diaz in MMA, because this is a washed Nate. This is the thing. This is Nate is just doing things for money now. He said that when he took the boxing fight. The money was too good to turn down. He weren't really taking it seriously. Didn't care if he lost. That's why there was no aggro. And I think it'd be the same in MMA as well. I think it's the perfect opponent for Jake in MMA, if I'm being honest.
Okay, Callum, I'll
that
ask you this
thrown
question.
Me. I'm not gonna lie, Jay. That's thrown me, bro.
My job.
Hey, Callum, I'll ask you this question. Do you think Nate would wait until the back end of next year? Because Jake Paul said while the reports are Jake Paul's going to take 12 months to train MMA to get ready for his debut. Do you think Nate would wait that long for him to fight in MMA, or do you think Nate Diaz is going to be like, well, if I get 15 mil, I'll happy to wait 12 months, run my marathons, and wait for him?
I think that's what it will come down to, is the money. So here's the thing: he knows if he goes back to the UFC, he's not just going to be able to sign a 1-fight deal. It's going to be a minimum of 4-fight deal.
Fourth fight. I think from there the UFC just went, hold on, what? We're offering Nate Diaz a contract? Yeah, pull Callum straight away.
Fourth fight. I think
Hey, did Dana cut the Wi-Fi?
Yeah,
He mentioned Nate Diaz.
Diaz is on to me. I'm starting to unfoil his plan. I think if he goes to UFC, they're going to sign him to a multi-fight deal, probably 3-4 fights minimum. I don't think he wants that at this stage in his career. Nate, as we've seen many times, is happy to sit out and wait because he is someone that is always in shape, always keeps himself in shape. So, and his fighting style, and I mean this with no disrespect, doesn't for me rely on sharpness and activity. His fighting style is mainly based on endurance and grinding people down. Him doing Ironmans and marathons and constantly training in the gym keeps him sharp enough to do that. If you dangle a $15 million carrot and say sit out for a year, he's not going to get that in his UFC return. If he fights 3 times in UFC, he's not going to get that.
And it's going to be at middleweight because Jake Paul,
no weight cutting,
middleweight,
no weight cutting either.
I can't imagine Jake Paul is going to cut to 170. Like when he gets on the scale for his boxing, he cuts from 200.
And who's to say he doesn't fight Jake Paul and gets a rematch as well, where he can make even more money potentially the second time round? For me, it makes sense for him to wait. The only drawback is the PFL. He seems like he's very much wants to fight. If he's gonna fight MMA, he wants to fight in the UFC. But
yeah,
I mean, 15 mil. I'm gonna be real. Nate shouldn't be turning that down. But his career's earned that sort of money.
I'd only say my only counter argument to the Diaz thing is about the UFC. Does he think? I think he'll definitely speak to Dana before anything of him jumping to the PFL would even happen. I think he's going to crunch the numbers to see how much would I get if I did a McGregor trilogy, 170 pay-per-views. How much would I get paid? Sort of thing, and would that be worth it rather than going to the PFL? Because if he loses to McGregor, he loses to McGregor. But if he loses to Jake Paul, then that star power, that Diaz star power gets diminished if Jake Paul beats you in boxing and beats you in your own backyard.
But he's got one fight left anyway, in my opinion. I don't think we're going to see Nate when he fights Conor or Jake. It's his last fight. He ain't going to make 15 mil fighting Conor.
There is other fights he could have. You could do the Ben Askren thing again.
Yep. Yeah,
what, Nate?
Or you could do it. No, I'm on about Jake.
Oh, Jake. Yeah, I was going to say. You really want Ben Askren to get hurt, don't you?
You could do Jake Askren, or you can do Woodley.
Yeah, Woodley, because Jake's made plenty of enemies in his boxing career so far by taking out former MMA fighters. Askren,
and now they
middle welterweight. It's going to pop up to middleweight. Woodley, could you get Woodley out of his limbo to get his revenge on Jake Paul by fighting him in the PFL as a big name? Or can you get the Spider
contracted to UFC though? Those guys.
Well, it all depends on what the contractual situation. I don't know about Anderson. Could you get the Spider out
he won't fight Anderson in MMA
limbo?
Oh, there's a thing actually, right? Because Anderson Silva's got a brand new show coming out on Amazon Prime, ain't he?
Yeah,
it's called Anderson Spider Silva Show.
Yeah,
and it's an actual TV series about his life and career, ain't it?
Yeah.
Now, that could be the one, you know. It links with the Amazon Prime series. We get PFL link with that, with the Amazon Prime show where they can promote both, gives new eyes. Hang on, whoa, you know, and crossover.
I think that'd be the worst.
Because I think Jake Paul's going to fight a veteran. I think Jake Paul's going to fight a veteran fighter in his MMA debut. It's going to be someone with casual fan name
appeal
related to it. Yeah, that someone can come out. Oh, he's fighting him in MMA. I'm going to have to tune into that. If he's fighting, I don't know, Derek John, you know, who's had 7 fights and works out of the worst gym in Vegas. No one's going to watch it. No one's going to watch. So they're going to have to give him name appeal. It's going to have to be name appeal. But I do think it will be Nate Diaz, and I think there's a possibility Jake could beat Nate Diaz in MMA.
Yeah, I just think like there's plenty of opponents. I think there's more than people realize. There's all the MMA fighters he's beaten in his boxing career so far that you can see.
Can I throw a name out there?
Yeah,
Darren Till.
that's a possibility, but he's already at the rumors of him with Misfits, him and Mike Perry.
I know, but Mike Perry, after that fight,
Darren Till will kill him.
I think he would, but at the same time, if Jake's wrestling,
are you sure that Darren Till would kill him though? Because I don't know, not Darren got that dog in him anymore.
I don't know. Darren Till's got that Thai fighting background now, isn't he? So that's something new. Actually, I'm not sure. Actually,
the wrestling
of the old Darren Till.
The knees aren't as great.
But not. He's got that dog in him because I don't know if he's got that hunger anymore.
But then, is Jake going to get the same stick that he's getting in boxing at the moment, where he's fighting non-boxers and old UFC guys that can't actually do it in MMA anymore? Is he going to get the same stick if he fights them in MMA?
Nah, not unless he brings unless he brings boxers over to MMA. If he does that, then it's like, Jay, what are we doing there?
That might happen, that actually might happen because there's a certain heavyweight that's fighting in MMA as well. So,
I do have a feeling like I'm thinking everyone that he's picked a feud with, because he's picked a feud with multiple people in the MMA industry. There is plenty that you can go, I could see that if he's not in contract with the UFC. Yes, you can possibly see it. There was one that floated around.
I've got one.
I don't know whether or not it's going to happen because I don't know about his UFC contract situation. Jorge Masvidal. Because I know he's got the Game Bread fighting promotion. I don't know whether or not that's on UFC Fight Pass. I don't know what his contractual situation is. But that's a potential. You're talking about a pay-per-view star in MMA crossing over to the PFL. You can get Masvidal to move up to 85. Don't need to weight cut. Pay him a bag.
I think Jake cooks him.
And plus, it's going to be a striking matchup for him. Masvidal's not going to use the wrestling much.
Yeah, I think that's a bad move for Masvidal. I really do. I wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't. I think that's a bad move for Masvidal. I think he gets beat by Jake Paul. The one I'm thinking of is Shao. The one I'm thinking of is Shao Sonnen.
Nah, there's no way. Like he's missed I wouldn't say he's missed the UFC because he fought a Bellator, but I cannot.
He's still got a Bellator.
Chael's a bloody like heavyweight man. You're not cutting to 85 no more.
He's still got.
How old's Chael now?
He's still got a Bellator contract.
It's like mid-40s.
He's got a Bellator. He's still got a Bellator contract, I think, or is he just come out of it? I'm not sure.
All right, so Chael's 46. If this had been maybe 3 years ago, I mean, I've said yes. I don't know if because Chael hasn't fought in 4 years.
But these are the guys he's going to have to face, though, because it's going to have to be a name everyone recognises, isn't it? As I said, if it's John Keith or whatever, who's had 7 fights and fights out of a crap hole in Vegas.
Oh my God, there was another one. A certain soldier of God, Yoel.
Romero.
Oh, no, don't do it.
Gosh,
Romero.
Like years ago.
Romero, kill him.
Oh, no, that was Darren Till that called him out, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah, Romero. I'm not fighting Romero on my MMA debut. There's people I want, and there's people I don't.
I'm not fighting Romero if I'm a seasoned champion. Are you crazy?
Yeah,
I got that mixed up. I think it was Darren Till that called him out by mistake, and then was like,
You
Yeah.
really don't want to see Jake thrive, do you? Like,
No.
No, but the thing is,
I
like,
think
if they want
Jake.
this,
I think Jake gets a wrestler personally.
the thing is, yeah, I think remember that clip that went around years ago of him like grappling, like he got dealt with like with ease. Like he got dealt with ease
Yeah,
on
but if
the
he's
wrestling.
fighting
For me,
40-year-old,
he's going to be picking a striker and a striker that he can know that he can bang with. Pause, knowing that he could probably get a positive, like he could probably win.
wait, Sanderson Silva.
the
Anderson
kick
Silva.
from Anderson Silva. I mean, if Chel's 46, Anderson must be about 49.
Yeah, it's going to be like 50 probably.
Anderson
See,
Silva's
Anderson
48.
Yeah, Anderson Silva's Amazon program. It just makes sense. You could market into it. You can push it.
I don't see Anderson taking another MMA fight. I think his body's beaten up.
Yeah,
He's got
yeah. I
10 million
did
doing it.
see like there was
They're called
like,
a penis drug you can get for 10 million. You know, Anderson loves a penis drug. So, like,
so there is definitely plenty of options for Jake Paul that would give him the name value, the draw, good possibility he could win. Because the PFL don't want this to be like a one and done, like he's going to fight and then loses and then like he's done, or he wins, he's done. Like they're going to want them to draw this out for as long as possible. So that's why I think that they're going to be very careful on how they match him. As long as they match him against a veteran that they've got pretty good trust that they know that Jake's probably going to win, that's probably the way to go.
it's interesting, man. I think it will end up being Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's the
I think that'd
biggest
be a closer fight. I mean, you might think, yeah, maybe a close fight, you know?
Okay, so that may be the biggest fight. But Callum, who would you want Jake Paul to fight in his PFL debut?
I like the Nate fight. The reason I like the Nate fight is because Nate is susceptible to getting hit. So in my eyes, it's not a 50-50 fight, but Jake has a chance because we've seen Nate get hit. We know Jake has got a powerful right hand. He's got a wrestling background. We know Nate has and can be taken down, but we also know Nate can drag you into the deepest of waters and drown you. And also his jiu-jitsu game is one of the best we've seen. So
yeah,
I think that would be a fun matchup. Plus, just we know how Nate is inside the cage. Can you imagine him just like shouting at Jake and sticking his middle finger up at him and laughing at him and slapping him and all these things that you like? For me, it'd be a very good test to see Jake's resolve, because if you're in there with Nate, not only you're fighting a physical battle, you're fighting a mental battle. Like we saw Leon Edwards dominate Nate from start to finish. 1 minute left, he gets slapped and then punched and almost stopped. Like we've seen him against Masvidal getting smashed about for the first 3 rounds. In the 4th round, he starts to make a run for it and starts to claw the rounds back. Saw him in the Conor fight, the first one, battered in the 1st round. 2nd fight, he lands a 1-2 and then chokes him out.
Yeah,
Nate's got, if there's anyone who's got that dog in them, it's Nate. And if there's anyone who needs to prove they've got that dog in them from an MMA standpoint, it's Jake. I think that's the fight. Plus, they've got the history in boxing as well. I think that's the fight.
Jamie, before I come to you, I have one wild card that no one's mentioned.
Go on, he's going to say someone like Brock.
Danis. Dylan Danis.
Oh.
He's a free agent.
Yeah, you've done it.
He's a free agent. We know he's a jiu-jitsu master. He's got no punch ability. Like his punching is 0. His boxing is 0. Could you potentially? Because I know Dylan said like,
I'm trying to
see or bust.
All right, so
we know the money's wrong,
don't he?
Yeah, that's the thing. He's made it so obvious he wants UFC. If he goes PFL now, it's like, does that diminish his star power? Because that, like, he's almost been too open with his negotiation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
but how
wild card.
legit are his actual
Dylan Danis.
negotiations? That's the problem.
Yeah.
How legit are his negotiations, though, for you? I like Dylan. I ain't gonna lie. I think he's all right. I'd just put him in the ring. I'd put him in the octagon with Wanderlei Silva. That's what I'd do. Just get Wanderlei Silva out of retirement. Just Wanderlei Silva, Jake Paul. That's what. Yeah,
Give him the axe murderer just for his debut.
But no, I think look. It's gonna have to be, as I keep saying, someone with that name value to draw the people over to watch. So you are looking at the people he might have fought in boxing already, that are MMA stars like a Woodley. I think a Woodley is a good option. But Dylan Danis, I'll tell you what, we were talking about alternatives earlier, weren't we, on Cows? Yeah. And Dylan Danis brings eyes. People might not like it, but he does bring it. He sold the Misfits pay-per-view.
Yeah, he did.
He brings eyes. And Dylan Danis and Jake Paul on social media, in press conferences, that does numbers. That could do a million buy rate. That could do a million buy rate.
Yeah.
That could do a million buy rate, just that match on its own. Jake Paul's followers always go watch him, and people want to watch Dylan Danis because the stuff he gets up to. That could do a £1 million. That could do a 1 million buy rate. That's mad.
So who would you have as Jake Paul's if you were booking his fight?
Dylan Danis.
Who was Jake Paul's debut?
Dylan Danis. I think he knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, you've changed my mind.
I think mine would be Dylan Danis as well, because it just makes sense. Beatable. The boxing fight with his brother. I don't think he'll be invited back on Misfits again. A fight that I think Jake could win. It'd be perfect for Dylan. He doesn't need to cut weight. It'd be a middleweight. Be perfect. I know we mentioned Anderson Silva. There's more chance of him fighting on Misfits than he does fighting in the PFL, so he can be on the same card as his son. And plus Misfits are rumored to be going to Brazil. So could you imagine Anderson Silva headlining a Brazil card for Misfits? So that's why I probably think it's more likely that Anderson will go to Misfits. But yeah, my pick for Jake Paul would be Dylan Danis. The storyline's there. I'd back Jake Paul to knock out Dylan Danis. We saw his failed grappling, failed submission attempts in his fight against Logan Paul. Like, that shows that if he's shows that if he can fight, anyone can fight based on that fight that he had with Logan. So yes, Dylan Danis would be my preferred opponent to Jake Paul. But hey, everyone in the comments, let us know if you agree or disagree with our choices and who Jake Paul should fight in his PFL debut. Just before we go, Callum, can you tell the people where we can find you?
Indeed, you can find me on the Sanderson Show. You can also find me on Coppish. You can also find me on your channel sometimes, Luke, and Jamie's channel too sometimes as well.
Jamie, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Jamie Phillips Football Chats, guys. They're most days got a video announcement coming up at the end of the week. So yeah, big things happening.
Okay, that's great. Hey, everyone that's watched the video, make sure you hit the like button, share button, subscribe to Jamie's channel and Callum's channel. Links will be in the title and in the description. And we will see you all very soon.